My name's Grant,
And I'm Stephanie.
and not sure where you want us to take it from there.
Okay. Say hi, I'm Grant, I'm Stephanie. We're getting
My name's Grant,
And I'm Stephanie.
and we're getting married.
And we're getting married.
Tell us how you guys met.
We met in Troy in a biology class, and I was sitting in the second row, and I was looking over, and a buddy of mine had pointed out there's this beautiful blonde girl sitting a couple rows behind us. And I was like, who is that? And he happened to know what her name was. He was like, that's Stephanie. And I was like, I'm going to have to try and find out who that is. And little did I know later on, as I was skipping these classes and not showing up, she had secretly been signing me in the entire time. So I think it was destiny from the get-go.
I thought he was cute, so I would sign him in so he wouldn't fail.
And let's see, tell us if you have any other funny stories you want to share about Stephanie.
Some stories maybe we shouldn't talk about.
When we first met, or not when we first met, but like the second time we started hanging out again, I had called him on the phone and I had said, hey, why don't you come over? And I was telling him that we kind of like lived in the same area and we just lived like a street away from each other.
We both lived in this trailer park, and I lived with Zach Rhodes in a trailer on one side of the road, and on the other side of the road, about a trailer apart, was Stephanie this whole time, and I didn't even know. So she called me and said for me to come over, and okay, and I got so excited, I left everything there, ran out the door, didn't even lock the door, and went
I
go
think
hang
the door
out with
was
her.
wide open, the TV was on, all
Door
the
was
lights
open,
were
TV
on.
was on. So Zach comes home and comes inside. He sees my phone, sees my keys, sees the doors open and all the lights on, and his immediate reaction is Grant has been abducted. So going into crime fighter mode, he goes into my phone and dials the last number that was in there. It just so happened to be Stephanie. So flash forward to us over there at her trailer. We're sitting there just talking and enjoying each other's company, and Stephanie gets a phone call and she's like, hold on a second. And from what my perspective, I hear her go, this is Stephanie. Yes, Grant's right here. And Zach immediately thinks that a little girl has captured me. But that was the first time that he actually got to meet her. I brought her over afterwards, and we all got to be on the same page and got to show him who my eventual wife would be, even though we didn't know it back then.
Let's see. Oh, tell us about the engagement. How did you guys get engaged?
Well, the months leading up into when I proposed, which was New Year's Eve back in 2013, I had been taking pictures and video footage from Birmingham, from Troy, and from Enterprise, from our hometowns and where we met. And I had been capturing a couple of interviews from people and put some stories together. I ended up putting together about this 9-minute long video or so that was this tribute to Stephanie and our relationship and how we met and everything. And so what I did was I took her down to the wharf in Orange Beach. We stayed there overnight for New Year's Eve. Right before New Year's came up, I brought her upstairs and I played this video for her, and we watched it. And it was real emotional and it was sweet. And after the video was over, I had placed a box underneath the table, knelt down, picked up the box out of the table, and asked her would she marry me. Something that we've always done ever since we known each other is every night before we go to sleep, we always ask each other a question. It could be something simple like what was food you enjoyed from the restaurant, some character you liked in the movie, or something more deep and personal. And so when I asked her, I said, this is the most important question I've always wanted to ask you, is will you marry me? And so we kind of led up into that, tried to make it a little bit more personal. And she didn't say yes.
I just said thank you.
She said thank you. And hugged her, and then eventually I was like, does that mean yes? And she's like, yeah, yes.
And then I got really like nervous and hot, and I was like, let's go outside.
So we went around and ran outside, just discussing what our future was going to be and how we were going to tell people for a while.
I know.
That's a great story. What do you love most about Stephanie?
I love Stephanie's laugh. It's a very, very unique laugh. It's a combination of different things that always ends in a snort, especially when she starts laughing really hard. She probably won't do it now because she's self-conscious. But that's all based around her sense of humor, which is really comparable to mine. So I'm very particular sense of humor, and she's right on page with me. So if we're watching a show, or if we're commenting on people's lives, or even just messing with each other, it's the same kind of sense of humor. We get along with each other. And it doesn't hurt too much that she's pretty beautiful, too.
Grant's my best friend. I love doing anything with him, really, and then I love doing nothing with him. I never get tired of hanging out with Grant, and I think that's what's made him the best person to spend my life with.
How you know you're married, right? Let's see. How did you? I'm gonna ask you the questions that I asked him. How did you meet Grant?
I met Grant in biology class at Troy University. We were in the GAB building. And it was one of the huge stadium classrooms, and I had sat in the second row or maybe the first row. And I didn't really notice Grant at first, but his friend had asked me if I could sign him in. And I said, oh yeah, I'll sign you in, not a problem. I'll be here every day. And except for that day, I turned around and left class early. But I decided that I was going, to sign him in. But I had he had introduced me to Grant. I was like, oh, hey. And since I thought Grant was cute, I signed his friend and Grant in. And then his friend that I didn't think was cute, he just got in the shaft. I didn't sign him in at all.
Yeah, Will didn't make the cut.
He didn't make the cut. He was not cute enough to get signed in. And so that was when we first met.
We had a couple other classes together.
Uh-huh.
And I can't remember, somehow I think social media was involved, and we became Facebook friends. And I was chatting her one night, and we ended up wanting to hang out, wanted to meet up, and we went and met on the quad at Troy. We went out there, and we walked and talked for hours and hours, which ended up being a tradition that we still do now, as if we ever go on walks, we'll walk for hours and just catch up and kind of get on the same page.
Mm-hmm. And it was really pretty out there.
Yeah.
And then, what else? Oh, and then we had other classes together, and this was when we were not really dating. We had other classes together, but we were like dating other people, and we were both like very interested in each other, I guess. And it became friendly competition to see who was the smartest person in every class. And sometimes he won, sometimes I won. It was great.
Sometimes I won more than she did.
No, I know a lot more about poetry, but anyways, we had a lot of classes together. Our majors kind of swapped. Like I was an English major and he was a journalism major, and we swapped them around back and forth. So we ran into each other a lot. And so we would just try to make each other jealous, I guess, with how smart we were.
Yeah, I guess with that story of mine, we got to mention that we dated for... With that story of mine, we got to mention that we dated for a period of time and then we broke up. Dated other people for about 2 years or so, and then dated again. But all throughout this period of time, like she mentioned, we kept running into each other. Like it kept seeming like,
We have a class here.
we have a class here. It
English
was like
together.
I was destined to keep running into this cute little blonde who I didn't know what to do with. I still really wanted to date, even though we were both in relationships with other people that we didn't find as interesting.
We had a class where our English teacher, Dr. Thompson, was like, so how many of y'all are dating? And so we'd raise our hand. We sat next to each other in the class, but we were not dating each other. And so we both raised our hand. How many of y'all think that person is the person you're going to marry? Well, since Grant raised his hand, I was like, me too, because I didn't want him to one-up me, I guess. We were very competitive in that class.
Yeah.
And one day we both missed that class together, and we weren't dating at the time, but our English class wrote about how much, or didn't write about, but talked about how much we loved each other and how much like we were on some sort of like secret
romantic
rendezvous because we were just that obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your point of view when Grant proposed to you.
When Grant proposed, it was New Year's. I had kind of gotten a feeling that, it would be coming up, and so I was excited that we were going out of town. I figured this would be it. And then we hung out with his friend, Leon, and they had a really good time. And
I might have had too much of a good time, and the morning of when I was supposed to propose, I might have been sick as a dog. So I kind of threw her for a loop a little bit.
I was like, Grant is such a perfectionist. This is not it. I just read him wrong. This is not it. So So it's kind of a good thing. And then we went out to this really nice restaurant, and I was kind of shocked that we were going to such a nice place. And Grant was not able to eat all of his food.
Which is very unusual.
And I didn't even take into the account that he must have been nervous. I just took into the account that he must still be feeling sick. And so I just decided I was going to eat my food and all of his food. And then Grant was like, "Well, I have a present for you in the apartment." And I was like, "A present?" And he was like, "Yeah, I made it." And I was like, "Oh."
I kept trying to say things to throw her off to make her not think of what it was.
And so then he showed me the video, and then the ring came out from underneath the table, and I had no idea what to say. I thought I would say yes or something, or I love you, but the only thing that came out of my mouth was, or I just said thank you. It just seemed like the right thing to say. So, and that was it. We watched the fireworks, watched the swordfish drop.
Yeah, I couldn't make it until midnight to propose. I made it till about 8:30, 9 o'clock, maybe.
I think it was 10, maybe?
Maybe 10, maybe.
I mean,
I
it
was
very close.
I was freaking out. So I was ready to propose, and then so that time we could enjoy the fireworks when that came up and call everybody that, our parents, and let them know to make it official, because certain people were waiting at home, like my mom, and were texting me all day, trying not to be obvious, but like, "Good luck, hope everything goes well.
Yeah.
Text me when it's over."
Yeah, and my dad knew about it, but my mom didn't. When Grant asked my dad about it, he actually, when he was at my house, ripped the shower or the towel holder out of the wall. And we didn't really know what was going on at the time, but now we can.
It was Thanksgiving, and I'd come down to Enterprise, and we're gonna have Thanksgiving dinner with her family and some friends that they had there. And my whole mission for this Thanksgiving meal, because I wanted to propose on New Year's, was to get her father's permission. Well, I can't really get him, Stephen Myers, separated from the rest of the family, so I'm having to strategically plan this out. So I keep waiting until eventually he finally decides he's going to go give some dog bones to the Cocker Spaniels out in the backyard. So he goes and takes them, and I was like, I'm going to go help him out real quick with that. So I run out there real quick. So he's throwing dog bones out to these dogs, and I'm trying to get all serious. And I'm like, I'd like to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage. And he's just like, "Well, Grant, I don't have a whole lot of bad things to say about you, so you have my approval." And kept going on what he was doing. But I kind of tried to keep it just between us. I didn't think that Miss Linda would be able to keep herself together for another month and a half. I didn't even tell my mom probably until the month of, because I know she wouldn't be able to hold it together. She was about to bust the day of.
I know, and then his family didn't even send out Christmas cards. They did New Year's cards, and they had already had them made that already had announced that we were engaged. So they were really hoping that I would say yes.
Yeah, they were banking on her saying yes. Glad you did.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got a refund on that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something funny about Grant.
I don't know.
Nothing funny about me.
Grant has a double life. Many of y'all don't know this, but Grant is also Batman, and he spends a lot of time defending Gotham through different video games and adventures, and that's Grant. He's got a Batman kind of like.
I'm the hero the city deserves.
Yeah. He's got a Batman obsession, so that led into our Batman cake and his Batman socks. And
Yeah, her gift to me was Batman cufflinks, Batman socks, and Batman underwear, and a Batman cup too as well. So she went all out. She knew what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that you guys want to say on the video?
All right, give me 2 minutes. Give me a second.
Well,
Okay. All right, hold on. No, keep going. Just my arms started.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I do not envy you holding that up
I
right now.
started getting the jello on for a second. All right.
sorry, you're pulling this down.
All right. Still rolling.
Wait, hold on.
Anything else y'all want to say? Short, quick. About how you feel about each other, about your outlook for the future. What you're going to name your children.
Where do you see yourselves in 5 years?
Yeah,
What's the
that's a
plan in
good
5 years?
Plan for Stephanie and Grant Brackeen right now is we're looking at houses. We're thinking about what's going to happen a couple years from now when there's little Brackeens running around. We're patient with that though. We want to enjoy us for a little bit before we have to bring on any minions. So we're looking to get into a house. We're going to try and work towards paying off some student loans and car payments and things like that, getting towards a more profitable direction before we buy a house and start paying that off. And we're really trying to see where we're going to kind of make our nest, where we're going to be.
Yeah, we don't have really any names picked out for our kids.
Yeah, we do.
We do. But right now we're just focused on one furry little being.
Yeah,
Boomer,
we're worried about our
Brackeen.
son right now.
He's a little Yorkie. Couldn't make it to the wedding, but he's definitely our fur child
He was in our thoughts the whole time.
the whole time.
That's the most important child we got to take care of. I think he's enough right now before we have anybody, a real human being. I think we should handle the
Before we
dog
take
first.
care of them.
Think you work with that?
I think I've got plenty.
Okay.
Okay.